When you force yourself to keep going, when you choose discipline over comfort, resilience over defeat, action over excuse, the world slowly rearranges itself around your persistence. At first, nothing seems to change. The struggle is heavy, the darkness unbroken. But day by day, choice by choice, something happens. The burdens that once crushed you become lighter. The wounds that once defined you begin to heal. The obstacles that blocked your path reveal new directions. In the quiet endurance of each moment, you discover a power that cannot be stolen, a wisdom that cannot be taught, a peace that cannot be shaken. When you keep going, not for applause, not for reward, but simply because you refuse to quit, you become the master of your fate. Everything falls into place, not because fate is kind, but because you have made yourself unbreakable. This is the true victory, to stand when others have fallen, to rise when you have every reason to stay down, to find meaning in the struggle and strength in the pain. This is how lives are changed. This is how destinies are forged. In a few moments, you will learn how to force yourself to keep going even when every part of you wants to stop. You will discover the hidden strength that awakens only when you stand face to face with exhaustion, doubt, and defeat. 1. The battle within. There is a war most never see, a battle that rages in the silent corridors of the mind. It is not a fight against the world, but against the unseen forces that wait inside each of us. Doubt, fear, anger, laziness, despair. These are not enemies you can touch or see, but you feel their weight every day. When the world is quiet, when the lights go out and you are left alone with your thoughts, these forces rise up from the darkness. They whisper to you in the quiet hours, telling you that you are not enough, that it is safer to give up, that it is easier to just drift through life. They offer the sweet comfort of surrender, of letting go of your dreams and settling for less than you are capable of becoming. But this comfort is a trap, a slow poison that eats away at your spirit until you can hardly remember what it feels like to want more. The path to greatness is never paved with comfort. Comfort lulls you to sleep, but growth happens in the struggle. The real test is not what you do when life is easy, but what you choose when storms rage above and the ground shakes beneath your feet. When your plans fall apart, when you are tired and alone and nobody is watching, that is when the true fight begins. It is here, when you want to quit most, that your greatest opportunity is born. Will you run from pain, or will you stare it in the eye and push forward anyway? History is full of those who have faced this battle and chosen to stand firm. There was once a man who ruled an empire, yet spent his nights wrestling with himself, writing down his thoughts in hopes of gaining control over his fears and frustrations. There was another, born into chains, who taught kings that the fiercest chains are those we forge in our own minds. These stories remind us that the hardest battles are always inside, never outside. No enemy, no loss, no disaster can ever defeat you unless you let the battle inside be lost. Those who rise above their circumstances do not do so because pain never touched them. They are the ones who walk straight into the fire, who feel the pain and choose not to run. They dig deep, beyond fear and beyond anger, and find a hidden power, a power that hardship cannot break. This power is not given. It is earned each day in the quiet decision to try again, to stand tall, when every part of you aches to fall. There comes a moment, often in the deepest darkness, when you force yourself to keep going, even when everything in you cries for rest. It is in this moment, this quiet, stubborn refusal to give in, that something inside you begins to change. At first, it is only a spark, a tiny glimmer of hope. But with every choice to keep moving, that spark grows brighter, until you realize that you are no longer fighting just to survive, but to win. The seeds of victory are always planted in the shadows. Mastery of anything, whether over your body, your craft, or your life, does not begin with the world outside. It begins with mastery of yourself. The war inside shapes the world outside, just as a river carves the land over many years. When you conquer yourself, when you break the chains of doubt and despair, the world starts to shift in response. Opportunities appear where before you saw only barriers. Strength grows where there was only weakness. And with each new dawn, the fight begins anew. You rise, ready to face yourself again, ready to take another step toward victory. So ask yourself, will you yield, or will you choose to stand again, and again until the shadows inside finally submit? This is the question that shapes your fate, and the answer is found not in the world around you, but in the heart of the battle within. 2. The weight of endurance. Endurance is more than just waiting for a storm to pass. It is the art of standing in the rain, unbowed and unbroken, while lightning splits the sky. It is easy to talk about strength when the sun is shining, when the path is smooth and the way is clear. But life does not offer endless seasons of ease. Instead, it sends wind and rain, unexpected trials that batter the spirit and test the body. There will be mornings when you wake with a heavy heart and every muscle aches, days when each step forward feels like walking through mud. Sometimes the road vanishes into a thick fog, and you can't even see what lies ahead. Doubt creeps in, whispering that you are lost, that you are finished, that turning back would be easier. In these moments, endurance reveals its true face, not as something gentle, but as the fierce refusal to bow. Most people, when confronted with relentless hardship, search for comfort. They look for a place to hide, some small escape from the pain. Some turn their backs, giving in to bitterness, believing the world is unfair and that nothing they do matters. Others distract themselves, pushing away their pain with empty comforts. But there is another path, a path taken by the few who decide that no storm will break them. These rare souls do not move blindly through suffering. They look their pain in the eye and learn from it. They see hardship not as a curse, but as an invitation to grow stronger, to become more than they were yesterday. The world is full of stories about those who chose endurance over surrender. One emperor, burdened by the weight of an entire empire, discovered that his hardest battles were not fought on fields or in courts, but within himself. He learned to see his trials as teachers, not enemies. Each sleepless night, each disappointment, each loss became a lesson. Another man, born into chains, taught that it is not what happens to us that matters most, but how we choose to respond. Pain, he said, is only as deep as we allow it to be. Suffering can make you bitter, or it can make you wise. To endure is not simply to survive. It is to move forward, step by trembling step, even when your legs want to collapse and your mind begs for rest. You discover, in those moments of greatest strain, that your body can keep going long after your mind believes it cannot. You realize that your mind, when disciplined, is stronger than any fear or doubt. Endurance is not passive. It is an active, living force. It demands everything and, in return, offers transformation. Peace will never be handed to you by the world. It must be earned, bought with the price of persistence. You find this peace in the decision to stand, to continue, to hold your ground, even as everything inside you pleads for escape. Each day you refuse to surrender, you become more solid, more rooted. With every new hardship you face and survive, your spirit grows tougher, your resolve sharper. Endurance carves you into someone new. It burns away weakness and reveals the core of who you truly are. The storms of life are not there to destroy you, but to prepare you to shape you into someone who cannot be broken by the next storm or the one after that. In the weight of endurance, you forge a new self, capable of withstanding any trial. And when the storm finally passes, you stand in the quiet that follows, knowing you have faced what others could not. You have learned the secret. True strength is not found in avoiding pain, but in meeting it with unwavering will and emerging, at last, unbroken. 3. The power of repetition. Greatness is not born in flashes of inspiration, but in the unrelenting grind of repetition. Many dream of rising high, believing that one spark of brilliance or a single moment of effort is enough to shape their fate. But the truth is harsher and far more powerful. It is not the sudden storm that shapes the land, but the endless rhythm of the waves, wearing down the hardest stone. In the same way, your character, your strength, and your future are carved not by what you do once, but by what you choose to do over and over, day after day. The leaders who left their mark on history understood this better than anyone. Their stories are not filled with tales of ease or constant excitement. Their private writings, kept away from the eyes of the world, tell of cold mornings when they forced themselves to rise before the sun, not because they felt like it, but because they knew they must. They faced each day with duty, often in silence, far from applause or reward. Their victories were not sudden. They were built upon countless unseen battles, moments when they pushed through exhaustion, repeated the same small actions, and refused to let their standards drop, even when no one would have blamed them for resting. The world is quick to celebrate results, to honor the person who seems to arrive fully formed, yet the world forgets the process. It forgets the slow, grinding work that takes place in the shadows, far from glory. But the process is everything. The old teacher who once bore chains on his limbs taught that true freedom is found in mastering habits. He knew that unless you make discipline a part of your very being, you will always be a slave to your impulses. Mastery does not come to those who wait for inspiration. It comes to those who return, again and again, to the same difficult task, who are willing to look boredom and pain in the eye and keep going anyway. If you want to become unshakable, you must teach your body and mind to obey your command, even when every fiber begs you to quit. This is the hidden difference between those who only dream and those who achieve. The dreamer waits for the right mood, the perfect moment, but the achiever builds the future out of ordinary days, stacking one act of self-control upon another until a fortress stands where once there was only dust. Every time you do what must be done, especially when you do not want to, you lay another brick in that fortress. The walls grow higher, stronger, and soon you find that you are no longer struggling to begin. You are drawn forward by the force of your own routine. At first, repetition feels heavy and dull. It seems pointless to do the same things, day in and day out, especially when progress is invisible. But over time, this grind transforms into something greater. What was once difficult becomes easier. Tasks that once required effort become second nature. Your mind, your very self, is reshaped by what you do most often. With each repeated action, you forge a new identity, not just someone who hopes, but someone who does. When you force yourself to keep going, especially when you feel like giving up, something shifts deep within. The pattern becomes the path. And the path, walked long enough, becomes your freedom. The chains of old habits break. The temptations that once ruled you grow weak. And you stand, at last, as your own master, not because you found an easier way, but because you chose to endure the hard one. This is the quiet secret of all those who achieve greatness. They did not wait for inspiration. They created it with the steady beat of repetition, one day at a time. 4. When pain becomes purpose. There is a threshold in every life where pain threatens to overwhelm. It does not announce itself. It arrives like an uninvited guest, sometimes quietly, sometimes with the roar of thunder. Loss, disappointment, betrayal, these are fires that scorch the soul and leave scars that do not fade easily. Sometimes it is the loss of someone you love, or a dream that slips through your fingers, or the bitter sting of being let down by someone you trusted. These moments cut deep, shaking the ground beneath your feet and making you question if you will ever stand tall again. Most people, when confronted by suffering, turn away from it. They want only for the pain to end, to escape the ache in their chest or the hollow in their heart. They seek comfort wherever they can find it, hoping that distractions or time will erase the hurt. But pain, like a shadow, cannot be outrun. It waits patiently, returning again and again until it is faced. There are those rare and brave who make a different choice. They do not run from pain or try to cover it up. Instead, they turn and face it. They let themselves feel every inch of it, refusing to let it break them. It is these people, the ones who step into the fire rather than fleeing from it, who find something miraculous waiting for them on the other side. The wise emperor who ruled over millions wrote that every obstacle is a chance to become stronger. Pain, he understood, is not simply to be feared. It is a hammer that can shatter, yes, but it can also be a chisel, shaping something new within you. The choice is always yours. You can let pain destroy you, or you can allow it to remake you better and wiser than before. When you force yourself to keep moving forward, even as anguish weighs you down, you transform suffering from an enemy into a forge. Each blow, each sorrow, each heartbreak can be used to strip away what is false and leave only what is real and unbreakable. The teachers of old, some of whom began their lives in chains, understood this better than most. One such man showed the world that chains can bind the body, but only the mind can allow itself to be imprisoned. He taught that your response to suffering is your own. No matter how heavy the burden, you can choose your attitude. When your heart aches and the world turns cold, remember that pain is not a sign of weakness. In truth, it is a sign that you are alive, that you have something to lose and something worth fighting for. Pain is the cost of caring deeply, of risking yourself for love, for dreams, for what matters most. To endure does not mean to become numb or to harden yourself against the world. It means letting pain do its work, burning away illusions and comforts that hide the truth until all that is left is what is real, what is essential. Through pain, you come to know yourself. Through suffering, the path to greatness is revealed. Each time you press on when all hope seems lost, you turn pain into purpose. Purpose is not found in moments of comfort, but in the choice to rise again and again, no matter how many times you fall. It is this resolve that lights the way forward. You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose how to respond. This is the secret hidden inside every trial. When you refuse to give in, when you carry your wounds with honor and continue on, you become stronger than pain. You do not walk alone. Every scar becomes a story of survival, a mark of your will. In the end, pain does not destroy you. It shapes you, clears your path, and reveals the greatness within. 5. The discipline of thought. The mind is a garden. Left untended, weeds of fear and doubt choke out everything good. This is the hidden place where your true battles begin and end, a landscape that can grow either wild and tangled or calm and fruitful. Thoughts are like seeds, each one holding the power to grow into something beautiful or something that can overtake and smother all hope. Most people do not notice what is planted in their minds. They wake up each morning and let whatever thought comes along take root. Soon, fear grows tall, and doubts spread like vines, wrapping around every dream, every goal, every quiet hope for something better. But the mind can be changed. With discipline, the wild chaos of thought can be ordered. The mind, once a prison of confusion and worry, can be transformed into a place of power and rest. Each day, your mind is attacked by endless judgments and shifting emotions. Memories of every failure, every harsh word, every time you fell short rise up like shadows. The future, unknown and uncontrollable, creates new worries that race through your thoughts, fast and loud. Most people allow these shadows to rule them. They act without thinking, react with anger or sadness, and wonder why peace is so hard to find. Yet there is another way. It begins with a decision, an act of will to train the mind, to become its master instead of its servant. The emperor who once held the weight of the world on his shoulders wrote his thoughts each night, not to boast, but to tame the wildness inside. He looked at his own judgments and asked, "Is this true? Is this useful?" He refused to let anger, pride, or fear decide his actions. He trained himself, night after night, to see things as they truly are, not as they appeared in moments of emotion. Another teacher, who once wore chains, proved that the body could be locked away, but the mind could always be free. He showed that no matter how dark the world becomes, you can learn to guard your thoughts like a watchman guards the gates of a city. To do this, you must be willing to challenge your own thinking, to question every story you tell yourself about who you are and what you can endure. If you can do this, you become the builder of your own world, a world that does not shake with every change of fortune or every storm of emotion. When you force yourself to discipline your mind, you refuse to be a puppet pulled by every passing feeling. You begin to notice each thought, to test it gently, to ask, "Is this helping me or hurting me? Is this the way someone strong would think?" At first, this work feels strange and hard. Old habits, like old weeds, are difficult to pull up. But with patience and practice, your mind begins to change. The questions become habits, and the habits become your defense against the chaos of the world. With time, the mind that once betrayed you becomes your ally. In the quiet moments before dawn, or in the middle of the day's troubles, you find a stillness inside that cannot be shaken. Discipline is no longer a burden. It is the gate to peace. In this silence, you find the strength to keep going, to rise above whatever comes your way. The world may remain wild, but your inner world is now a garden of strength, tended with care and purpose. Here, you find not only survival, but the space to grow, to dream, and to endure anything life brings. 6. Turning obstacles into opportunity. Every person will face obstacles, some small, some crushing. There is no path through life that avoids hardship. These challenges are part of the human journey, arriving unannounced and often at the worst times. They can come as sudden losses, unexpected setbacks, or slow-building problems that seem to have no solution. For some, obstacles arrive like a heavy rain that won't stop, soaking everything you've worked for. For others, they come as a wall that blocks all progress, a wall too high to climb, too strong to break. In these moments, it is easy to believe that life is unfair, that you are singled out for struggle, that fate has turned against you. But the truth is simpler and also much more powerful. The difference between those who falter and those who rise is not the absence of hardship, but how it is met. The stories of old tell us of an emperor who stood against invading armies, disasters, and the endless problems of leadership. He did not wish for these troubles, but he did not turn away from them either. He chose to see each setback not as defeat, but as opportunity. Even in his darkest hours, he reminded himself and those who would listen that what stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle is a chance to move forward, even if that movement is slow and painful. When we encounter resistance, the first feeling is often frustration. The mind screams for comfort, begs for an easier path. Many curse their bad luck or blame others, searching for a reason to give up. But there is another way. What if every obstacle is a hidden gift? What if the challenges you face are not walls, but doors that only open if you refuse to back away? When you force yourself to press on, to keep moving when quitting is the easier choice, you reveal strengths you did not know you had. You learn lessons you could never discover in times of ease. The teacher who bore the scars of chains learned early that adversity is the classroom of character. He taught that to meet obstacles head-on is to invite growth. With each problem faced, you gain patience, learning that good things rarely come quickly. With every difficulty overcome, you gain resourcefulness, discovering new solutions and abilities. With each challenge survived, you gain courage, proving to yourself that you can stand tall even when the world tries to knock you down. We cannot remake the world to suit our wishes. Storms will come, people will disappoint us, and plans will go wrong. But we can remake ourselves to meet the world as it is. The only real power any person has is the power to change within. Every challenge carries the seeds of opportunity, but only for those who refuse to yield. If you force yourself to look past your frustration, past your anger and fear, you will begin to see what others miss: the hidden doors, the new skills, the chance to become more than you were before. In this way, adversity ceases to be a prison and becomes a proving ground. You do not avoid the hard moments, you use them. Each obstacle faced and overcome adds a new strength to your spirit, a new layer to your character. You learn not only to survive, but to thrive, to turn problems into possibilities. Over time, everything begins to fall into place, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. You become someone who is not afraid of trouble, who welcomes the test, who finds meaning even in struggle. The obstacles remain, but you are no longer the same person who once feared them. You are stronger, wiser, and more alive because of the path you have walked and the challenges you have overcome. 7. Mastery over desire. Desire is a double-edged sword. It gives us the energy to chase, to reach, to dream of something more. Without desire, no one would build, create, or hope for a better life. But desire, when left unchecked, can quickly become a master that is never satisfied. It pushes us to hunger for more and more, to always reach beyond what we have, promising that happiness is just out of reach, waiting in the next new thing, the next win, the next praise. This hunger grows silently, twisting simple wishes into restless cravings. Each longing plants seeds of discontent, whispering that happiness must live somewhere else, always beyond the horizon. The mind, when left to wander in this endless chase, becomes its own prison. Thoughts spin in circles, always searching for what is missing, never seeing what is already in hand. The more we feed our desires, the stronger they become. One taste leads to another, and soon wanting is all we know. Days are filled with longing, nights with restlessness. Satisfaction slips through our fingers, no matter how much we grasp for it. Those who walked the hard roads before us saw this trap for what it is. They lived with temptation on every side, some as rulers, with every pleasure and power within reach, others as teachers, watching the world chase after things that faded with time. The emperor who led millions understood that unchecked desire brings no peace. He wrote of the strength found in mastering desire, not in feeding it. True freedom, he learned, comes not from endless gain, but from the ability to pause and question each longing. To force yourself to pause before chasing every wish is a rare kind of courage. It is a moment of self-mastery, when you ask yourself, do I truly need this, or am I simply chasing shadows? It is in these quiet moments, these small refusals, that the groundwork for freedom is laid. Every time you resist an urge for comfort, for recognition, for one more thing you do not truly need, you become stronger. These acts of self-control may seem small, but they add up. Over time, you build a habit of choosing what matters instead of being pulled by every passing want. Desire is clever. It always whispers that the next possession, the next achievement, the next pleasure will finally bring fulfillment. But this is a trick. No matter how much you collect, the hunger only grows if you continue to feed it. There is always something new to want, some higher mountain to climb. The world cannot give you the satisfaction you already have inside yourself. The secret is not to deny everything, but to choose carefully. When you force yourself to say not today to empty cravings, you make space for true peace. You begin to notice the value in what you already have, the friendships, the skills, the small moments of joy that are easily missed in the rush for more. In these moments, desire loses its power, and you gain a quiet strength that no one can take away. Mastery over desire is not about living with nothing, but about refusing to let longing control your life. It is choosing what truly matters and standing firm when temptations call. It is the satisfaction of knowing you are not a servant to every passing whim, but the master of your own mind. Each day, with each small victory, you carve out a life not of restless hunger, but of steady contentment. The world will always tempt you with something new, but when you learn to master your desires, you discover that what you were seeking was within you all along. 8. The weight of responsibility. To live is to carry burdens, some given to us by others, some chosen by our own hearts. No life is empty of weight. The young and old alike feel it pressing on their backs and minds, sometimes softly, sometimes like a mountain that refuses to move. Some burdens arrive quietly, slipping into your days as family to care for, promises to keep, or dreams that demand work. Others arrive like thunder, sudden losses, heavy disappointments, or mistakes that cannot be undone. Whether these burdens are handed to us by fate or picked up in moments of courage, the truth is this: running from them only makes us weaker, while carrying them makes us strong. The path to strength begins not when we cast off our burdens, but when we stop running from responsibility and instead lift it with both hands. The greatest teachers in history did not flee from duty. They did not hide when the world grew dark or their tasks became too heavy. Instead, they looked at what needed to be done and said, "I will carry this." They understood a secret that many forget: refusing responsibility leaves you lost, drifting on the wind at the mercy of whatever comes. But embracing responsibility, even when it feels too much, gives you roots. It makes you sturdy. It gives your life direction, meaning, and a kind of quiet pride. There will be times when the world feels too big, the weight too much to hold. Expectations may gather around you like storm clouds, and the voice in your head might whisper, "Set it down, run away, let someone else do it." In those moments, remember those who endured before you. There was once a ruler who watched his world crumble around him. Armies closed in, friends betrayed him, and still he refused to surrender to despair. He faced each day's burden with steady hands, knowing that his responsibility was not just to his people, but to himself. There was also a teacher who lived much of his life in chains, never able to put down his suffering, yet he found a way to carry it with dignity. The world tried to break his spirit, but he used his hardship to strengthen it instead. These examples show us that responsibility is not about what is easy, but about what is right. When you force yourself to face what must be done, even when every part of you aches for rest, you awaken a strength you never knew was there. Each task, no matter how small or boring, is an invitation to build character. Every promise kept, every hardship met, every person helped adds another stone to the foundation of who you are. With every new weight you learn to carry, you become less likely to crumble when troubles arrive. You become more unbreakable. Something remarkable happens as you grow. Your strength, at first enough only for your own burdens, starts to lift the weight from others as well. You become a support, a steady shoulder, a person others trust to do what must be done. People look to you, not because you have no troubles, but because you have shown that you can bear them with grace. Responsibility, in the end, is not a prison. It is the path to purpose. Each load you bear gives shape and meaning to your life, making every effort worthwhile. In shouldering the weight of your duties, you find not just survival, but fulfillment. Responsibility grounds you, anchors you, and gives you a reason to stand tall. In that meaning, you find a kind of peace that cannot be stolen by trouble or shaken by the storms of the world. You carry your burdens, and in doing so, you discover your power. 9. The voice of reason. In the chaos of emotion, reason is a lamp that never flickers. Even in the darkest moments, when fear rushes in like a flood or anger crackles like fire, reason remains a steady light, guiding us back to safety. It is easy, in a world full of pressure and uncertainty, to let our feelings take control. Fear makes us run from shadows that aren't real. Anger blinds us, driving us to say and do things we cannot take back. Jealousy seeps into our hearts, twisting what we see and poisoning the good in our lives. These emotions are powerful, and they come without warning. They can turn even the calmest day into a storm. Yet, throughout history, the wisest have shown another way. From rulers who held the fate of nations in their hands, to teachers who suffered in silence, they all learned to listen for the quiet, steady voice beneath the storm. This voice is not loud. It does not shout or demand attention. It waits patiently, shining like a lighthouse, reminding us of what matters most. Reason is not cold or unfeeling. It is the anchor that keeps us from drifting into regret or sorrow. It helps us pause, breathe, and see things as they really are. The emperor who survived betrayal, loss, and war reminded himself every night to trust reason above all else. In his journals, he wrote about the importance of clear thinking, of not letting pain or pride control his choices. The teacher who faced hardship after hardship saw reason as the only true freedom. He knew that while others could take away his comfort, his safety, even his freedom, no one could take away his ability to choose his thoughts and actions. Nothing can enslave a mind that thinks clearly. To force yourself to pause before reacting is an act of great strength. It is not easy to hold back when you want to strike out, or to stay quiet when your feelings roar inside you. But in these moments, you honor the quiet inner voice that can save you from regret. Step back and ask, is this true? Is this useful? Does this help me become the person I want to be? These questions break the spell of emotion and let the light of reason shine through. Each time you do this, you take back control from feelings that seek to rule you. Putting reason before passion does not mean turning your heart to stone. It means allowing your heart and mind to work together, guiding your choices so you are not a puppet dancing on the strings of every passing feeling. Reason gives you the space to step back, to respond instead of react. In that space, you find freedom and the ability to make the best decisions not only for yourself, but for everyone who depends on you. A mind that follows reason becomes a well of calm, even when the world outside is in turmoil. The storms of life do not stop, but you learn to sail through them with steadiness. People around you will notice this peace, and they will trust your judgment because it does not change with every mood or wind. You become a source of strength for others. Every choice guided by clear thought is another step toward becoming unshakable. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, the storms lose their power. The waves of emotion still come, but they no longer sweep you away. You remain steady, thoughtful, and strong. In a world ruled by noise and impulse, you stand out as a beacon of wisdom, someone who listens to the voice of reason and lives with purpose, no matter what storms may come. 10. The unseen strength of restraint. The world loves boldness, action, and conquest. Stories are told of great warriors, kings, and leaders who swept through life with daring and force, taking what they wanted and changing the world with their strength. But there is a quieter kind of greatness, one that is rarely celebrated but is far more lasting. It is the power to hold back, to say no when every part of you wants to say yes, to remain steady when passion threatens to carry you away. The world is full of those who move quickly, who chase every desire and react to every feeling. But history shows us that the most powerful people have always been those who could govern themselves. The emperor, who commanded vast armies, who could give a single order and change the fate of thousands, wrote that his greatest pride was not his power over others, but his power over himself. When anger surged, when disappointment struck, he learned to pause. He refused to be a slave to his emotions. Instead of striking back in rage, he would hold his tongue, letting the moment pass. This was not an easy victory. It demanded patience, humility, and a willingness to sit with discomfort rather than give in to it. But each time he chose calm over anger, thought over impulse, he became stronger. The teacher who suffered cruelty at the hands of others faced endless reasons to lash out, to return pain for pain. But he understood that true power is not in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. When insulted or tested, he did not reply with rage, but with calm. He chose to act, not react. In this way, he claimed a quiet victory over his tormentors and over himself. Those around him noticed this strength. They trusted him, respected him, and turned to him in times of trouble, knowing he would not be ruled by fleeting passions. To force yourself to pause, to hold your words, to restrain your hand when anger or desire burns within you is a sign of deep strength. It is easy to let your temper flare, to indulge every urge, to give in to every craving. Harder and far more valuable is the choice to wait, to endure the discomfort, and to act with purpose instead of passion. The world often mistakes restraint for weakness, thinking only those who seize the moment are strong. But the truth is clear. Restraint is the highest proof of self-mastery. It is choosing to be guided by your own principles, not by the moods of the hour. With each act of restraint, you build the walls of your character higher and stronger. You become someone who can be counted on, someone who is not easily shaken by the chaos around you. People begin to trust you, to see you as a beacon in a storm. When others lose themselves to impulse or anger, you remain steady. You become a person who can handle responsibility, lead others, and weather any storm. In the end, restraint is not about what you deny yourself, but about what you gain. You gain clarity, seeing each situation for what it is rather than what your feelings try to make it. You gain respect, both from others and from yourself, knowing that you are not ruled by things outside your control. And you gain an unbreakable will, one that stands firm no matter what storms may come. Those who master restraint do not need to fear losing themselves. They are not thrown off course by every strong feeling or sudden desire. Instead, they walk through life with calm strength, choosing their actions with care, and building a life that is not just bold, but wise. In a world that celebrates those who charge ahead, never forget the quiet, lasting victory of holding back and mastering yourself. 11. The courage to begin again. No path is walked without stumbling. No dream is chased without failure. To live, to strive, to care about anything at all is to risk defeat and disappointment. You set out with hope, with a plan, imagining a straight line from beginning to end, only to find that life's road twists, cracks, and throws you down when you least expect it. But the truth, the deep and lasting truth, is that no one is spared from mistakes. Everyone who has ever built something meaningful, who has ever loved, who has ever tried to become more than what they were, has felt the sting of falling short. What separates the ordinary from the remarkable is not a life without errors, but the courage to begin again, no matter how many times you fall. The stories of history's greatest souls are filled not only with triumph, but with setback after setback. The emperor who led with wisdom did not reach greatness without facing bitter defeat. At times his plans failed, his friends betrayed him, and the weight of loss seemed too much to bear. Yet he did not stay down. Each time he was struck by failure, he forced himself to rise, to face the day, to put one foot in front of the other. He understood that every defeat was just another lesson, another chance to strengthen his resolve. The teacher, once a slave, lived a life shaped by rejection and pain. He dreamed of a better world, only to find closed doors and harsh words at every turn. Still, he kept going. He picked himself up, learned from each fall, and began again, shaping his hardship into wisdom, his suffering into teaching. He did not let his past mistakes or losses write the end of his story. This is what makes a person unbreakable, the refusal to see failure as final. Each time life knocks you down, you are offered a choice. Let defeat define you, or rise and continue the fight. It is in that decision, made quietly in the darkness, that character is forged. When you gather your will, stand up, and move forward, you show the world and yourself that you are more than your scars. Let the world judge you by them if it must. Let those marks tell not the story of defeat, but of survival and endurance. Every new beginning is an act of courage, a quiet rebellion against despair. Each time you start over, you say, "Yesterday does not rule tomorrow." With every fresh attempt, you grow more resilient, more creative, more truly alive. Pain and failure are real. They hurt, and they can make you doubt yourself. But pain is also the fire that tempers the steel within you, shaping you into something stronger and more valuable than you were before. If you force yourself to start anew again and again, no matter how much it aches you, eventually become unstoppable. Your strength becomes deeper, your understanding sharper, your hope harder to shake. You learn to look at setbacks not as the end, but as part of the journey. You come to see that every fall is just another step on the path to greatness. The courage to begin again is the true foundation of all lasting achievement. It is the quiet power that fuels every hero, every leader, every soul who chooses not to give in. No matter how many times you stumble, if you keep rising, you keep growing. The world belongs to those who refuse to be broken, who know that real defeat only comes when you stop trying. So pick yourself up, brush off the dust, and begin again. This is how greatness is built, one new beginning at a time. 12. Stillness amid the storm. There are days when the winds howl and the world seems to tilt against you. It feels as if trouble arrives from every direction, shaking your hopes and testing your nerves. The sky grows dark, and nothing seems steady. On these days, panic is a quick and easy guest. The heart beats faster, the mind fills with worry, and it feels almost impossible to breathe calmly. You might want to run, to shout, to do anything just to make the chaos stop. Yet, in moments like these, stillness is essential. Stillness is the calm at the center of the storm, the power that lets you endure when everything else threatens to break. There have been rulers in history who stood at the heart of chaos, facing challenges that could have crushed anyone. These leaders learned to retreat into themselves, not to hide, but to find a place untouched by the world's troubles. In the quiet of their own minds, they discovered a safe harbor, a space where no noise or fear could reach. Here, even as storms raged outside, they could find peace and make wise decisions. This was not magic or luck. It was a skill learned over years, a habit built by practice. There were also teachers who endured suffering most people could never imagine. They faced pain, loss, and the cruelty of others, yet somehow they found the strength to calm their hearts. When fear screamed, They listened instead to the steady voice of reason. They did not let panic command their actions. Stillness for them was not about doing nothing, it was about composure. It was about being the steady hand that guides the ship through wild, crashing waves. To force yourself into stillness when anxiety rises is to refuse to be ruled by fear. It is a quiet but fierce decision. When your thoughts race and your emotions threaten to sweep you away, you watch them. You observe each feeling as if it were a cloud passing through the sky. You don't chase the clouds. You don't try to hold them. You simply let them drift by, knowing that no feeling lasts forever. In the center of this stillness, something extraordinary happens. Wisdom begins to emerge. You can see the truth of your situation, not through the eyes of panic, but with a clear mind. You know what must be done, not as a reaction, but as a reasoned choice. Stillness is the space where your best self is born. It is the ground from which courage grows and the shield that keeps you safe from being tossed about by every passing fear. When you practice stillness every day, you notice that storms seem to lose some of their power. The things that once unsettled you become manageable, like waves that break harmlessly against a strong wall. In the world's chaos, be the one who remains unmoved. Draw your strength not from noise and confusion, but from silence and inner calm. This does not mean you feel nothing. On the contrary, it means you have learned to master your feelings, to guide them rather than be guided by them. Stillness is not cold or empty. It is full of strength, ready for any challenge. It is in stillness that you truly find yourself. Here, in the quiet center of your being, you meet the person you are meant to be. And in finding yourself, you also find the path forward. No matter how fierce the storm outside becomes, you move with purpose, not fear. You stand tall while others tremble. With every day that you choose stillness over panic, you prove to yourself that nothing outside can shake the calm you have built within. 13. The gift of adversity. Adversity is a harsh teacher, but its lessons are lasting. No one asks for hardship, for pain, or for struggle, but life delivers them all the same. There will be days when nothing goes as you hoped. Plans will fall apart. You will lose things and people you thought you could not live without. The world may seem cold and unfair, as if everything good is slipping from your grasp. In moments like these, it is easy to see only loss. The heart aches. The mind grows tired. The light ahead seems too faint to follow. Many people curse their luck, turning away from the pain, wishing for easier days. But in the darkest seasons, when the world is stripped bare, something hidden is offered a chance to become more than you were. History tells of an emperor who lost friends to betrayal and faced wars without end. In the depth of suffering, he wrote about how difficulty shapes the soul. Hardship, he said, was not a curse but a tool, something that can make you stronger, wiser, and more complete. He learned that when comfort is taken away, what remains is what truly matters: your values, your spirit, your will to carry on. Another teacher, born into a life of hardship and pain, came to see adversity not as punishment, but as a grindstone, sharpening the blade of character. He refused to let hardship make him bitter. Instead, he let it shape him into someone resilient, someone who could face anything. To force yourself not to flee from suffering, but to welcome it as a teacher, is to gain a kind of wisdom no easy path can offer. When you endure the things you cannot change, you begin to see yourself as you truly are. Adversity strips away illusions, tearing down the walls of comfort and pretending. It reveals your true strengths and also your weaknesses. The parts of you that are soft or unprepared are made clear, not so you will be shamed, but so you can strengthen them. Every time you survive a trial, you have proof that you are stronger than you thought. Each scar you carry is a medal, not of defeat, but of survival. Do not curse your hardships. Study them, learn from them, and let them deepen your understanding of yourself and the world. With every setback, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can I use this pain to grow? In the middle of adversity, your truest allies will appear people who stand by you when others turn away, or maybe even parts of yourself you never knew were there. Determination, creativity, courage. It is often said that adversity does not build character, but reveals it. In the fire of hardship, your deepest strengths awaken. The qualities that comfort cannot give patience, courage, hope are born and tested in suffering. The lessons you learn in these moments are not easily forgotten. They become part of you, shaping every decision, every step you take forward. If you force yourself to endure, to face adversity head-on instead of running away, you will emerge transformed. The world around you may not change, but you will. Not in spite of the hardship, but because of it. The pain you endure now will become tomorrow's wisdom. The suffering you carry will be tomorrow's strength. In time, you will come to see that every setback, every wound, contained within it a gift. The chance to rise again, to build something new from the ruins, to become the kind of person who can weather any storm. Hardship is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter, where you hardened, sharpened, and wiser move forward with the confidence that you can survive anything life brings. 14. The quiet power of patience. Patience is a force as steady and relentless as the turning of the earth. Though it moves quietly, almost invisible to the rushing eyes of the world, it shapes destinies just as surely as rivers shape stone. It is rarely admired, often mistaken for weakness or lack of ambition. In a world that celebrates speed, that urges us to seize what we want now, those who wait are often ignored or doubted. But those who truly understand patience know it is one of the highest forms of strength. The world rewards those who rush, who chase after every new thing, who demand results before their time. There is always a voice urging us to hurry, to cut corners, to force the answer, to snatch the fruit before it is ripe. Yet, the wisdom of ages whispers a different truth, that everything worthwhile unfolds at its own pace. Flowers bloom in their season, not a day sooner. The greatest trees grow slowly, year by year, their roots reaching deep while their branches stretch for the sky. No matter how loudly you demand it, the sun will not rise before its hour. History is filled with those who learned the power of patience. The ruler who guided his people through years of war and famine knew that he could not command the storms to cease. He could not force peace or abundance. Instead, he learned to endure, day after day, doing what he could and trusting that change would come in its time. He watched the world shift around him and held to his course, rooted like an ancient tree. In the end, his patience brought order from chaos and new life from ruin. The teacher, born into struggle and hardship, learned that some chains take years to break. There were days when freedom seemed far away, almost impossible. Still, he did not give in to anger or hopelessness. He understood that true change often comes slowly, one breath at a time, one step at a time. Each moment of waiting became a moment of strength, a silent promise that he would not be bent by impatience or fear. To force yourself to wait when every part of you aches for answers or resolution is to build a fortress inside your heart. Patience is the refusal to be bent by urgency or to be swept away by fear. It is the calm acceptance that not all things are yours to command, that some victories are won not by rushing, but by enduring. Growth, healing, and change often come in silence, hidden from the eyes of those who do not wait. Each day you endure without rushing, you become more rooted, more steady, less shaken by disappointment. Patience is not giving up, not surrendering to fate or letting go of your dreams. Instead, it is the deep certainty that if you keep going, if you persist, the fruits will come in their season. The river does not carve the canyon by force or by rage, but by persistence, by never stopping, never hurrying, never giving up. Let patience be your silent ally. It will give you the strength to keep walking when the road is long, to keep hoping when hope is faint, to keep working when the reward seems far away. In the arms of patience, you find a peace that is stronger than frustration, a hope that outlasts every storm. Life unfolds in its own way, and often the best things come quietly, after long waiting. Trust in the slow work of time. Trust in your own strength to endure. When you hold fast, when you refuse to let urgency or fear bend you, you discover that in patience all things fall into place. 15. Faith in the process. When you plant a seed, you do not tear at the soil each day to check if roots are growing. You water it, give it sunlight, and trust that something is happening beneath the surface, even if you cannot see it. You know that life does not show all its secrets at once. There is an invisible order in the world, a slow unfolding that rewards those who wait and tend to their work with care. The wise understand this, that what you nurture quietly today may one day become something great. Yet there are times when faith is tested. You give your best effort, but nothing seems to change. The days feel empty and the nights long. It is easy to wonder if anything you do matters, if all your striving and struggle is simply lost in the dark. This is the hardest season when progress is invisible and the world gives no sign of reward. But in these moments, faith is what keeps you moving. Faith is the quiet courage that keeps you tending the soil, even when you cannot see the roots growing. The greatest minds of the past understood this deeply. The emperor, weighed down by loss and surrounded by uncertainty, kept writing, kept working, even when his actions seemed to vanish without a trace. He did not know if the world would remember his words, but he trusted that meaning was found in the effort, not just the outcome. The teacher, laughed at and pushed aside, kept sharing his wisdom, not because he was promised applause, but because he believed that every action made in alignment with his deepest values would matter in time. Faith in the process is not blind hope. It is not waiting for miracles without effort. It is the knowledge that greatness is built brick by brick, day after day, even when no one is watching. Each choice, each act of patience, each moment you refuse to give in to despair, lays another stone on the path. Sometimes, the results of your work will be hidden for a long time. Sometimes, you will have to walk through darkness, holding only the faint light of your own conviction. To force yourself to continue, even when it feels useless, is to declare that you believe in cause and effect. You trust in the slow, silent workings beneath the surface. You accept that real growth cannot be rushed, and that the seeds you plant with honesty, kindness, and strength will eventually bloom. The world is not always quick to reward effort. Recognition and results may come late or not at all. But every step you take in faith shapes who you are becoming. With every act of courage, you build a life that is sturdy and true. Doubt will always rise. The voice of despair will whisper, "Why bother? It is pointless." These voices come to everyone, even the strong. When they do, remember those who kept going, who continued their work when no one else believed. Let your own persistence become a quiet act of faith. Tell yourself, "I do not need to see the fruit today. I am building for tomorrow." It is only by walking the path, even when you cannot see the end, that you eventually find the dawn. All things take time to ripen, and many of the greatest rewards come quietly, after long waiting. When you look back, you will see that every moment spent in patient effort, every step taken in hope, was part of a much larger pattern. Trust the process. Nurture what matters. Keep moving, and one day you will stand in the sunlight, surrounded by the harvest you planted long ago. 16. The art of letting go. Not every battle is won by holding on. Sometimes strength is found in release. The world teaches us from a young age to grasp tightly, to clutch our dreams, to defend our plans, to hold on to the memories of what once was. We are taught that letting go is weakness, that it means giving up or losing what matters most. But those who endure, who walk through life with unbreakable spirit, come to know a quieter, deeper truth. There is a special kind of freedom in letting go. It is easy to believe that by holding on, we keep our lives together. We wrap our hands around our desires, our old hopes, the things and people we cannot bear to lose. Yet, with every year, life proves that nothing stays the same. The emperor who lost his closest companions mourned deeply. He spent many nights wrestling with his grief, his mind reaching for what was lost. But slowly, he learned to let go of what could not be changed. He realized that to move forward, he would need to release his grip not on love or memory, but on the wish for things to have been different. He found a new kind of peace, not in having, but in accepting. The teacher, once bound in chains, faced a different loss. He was forced to let go of nearly everything: freedom, the comfort of home, even his old sense of self. At first, the pain was sharp. But over time, he discovered that true freedom is not in what you possess or what you are called, but in what you can let go. When you release the need for things to always go your way, when you loosen your hold on bitterness and regret, you begin to move through life with a lighter step. To force yourself to let go of grudges, of failed plans, of the pain that others caused you, is not defeat. It is an act of courage. It is not about giving up. You discover that you do not need to hold so tightly. What matters most cannot be lost because it is carried within you. Letting go, you find, is not the end. It is the beginning of something new, a life lived not in fear, but in quiet, powerful freedom. 17. Rising above judgment. Everywhere, eyes watch and tongues whisper. No matter where you walk or what you do, you will feel the weight of other people's gaze. Praise and blame, understanding and misunderstanding, these shadows move quietly behind you, shaping the way you see yourself if you let them. From the time we are young, the world teaches us to seek approval, to crave acceptance, to fear being cast aside or ridiculed. But those who stand tallest, those whose lives burn brightest, are the ones who learn to rise above judgment. The emperor's every act was watched by thousands. His smallest mistake became news. His greatest triumphs were picked apart. Yet in the pages he wrote for himself, he counseled his heart to hold steady, not to be swept away by applause or by scorn. He understood that neither flattery nor criticism could add to or take away from his true worth. He looked instead to the quiet voice within, asking if his actions were right, his motives clean, his purpose clear. The teacher, though looked down upon by many, refused to let the opinions of others poison his peace. People doubted him, whispered behind his back, questioned his place in the world. Still he kept his mind calm and his spirit strong. He did not change direction to win applause or hide himself in shame when rejected. To force yourself to walk your own path, undeterred by what others think, is one of the highest acts of courage. It is easy to be swayed by the crowd, to let their moods push you from one place to another, but to stand firm, to trust your own heart, is rare and powerful. The world will misunderstand you. It will misread your motives, assign you names, lift you up one moment and tear you down the next. You may be called a hero one day and a fool the next. Do not let your heart become a puppet to the moods of the crowd. Ask only these questions. Are my actions just? Are my motives pure? Am I true to the quiet voice within? If the answers are yes, then let others talk. Their judgment does not shape your worth. With practice, the noise of judgment grows fainter. You will find that as you hold fast to your own values, the noise around you starts to fade. You become free to pursue your purpose without carrying the heavy burden of other people's opinions. Each step you take along your true path, the less you notice the shouting from the sidelines. You learn to listen to your conscience, not the crowd. In the end, only you know the battles you have fought, the effort you have given, the reasons behind your choices. The crowd sees only a small part of your story. They do not know your struggles, your private sacrifices, or the hope that carried you through your darkest days. Let others talk. Let them misunderstand. What matters is that you stay true. The peace that follows, the quiet certainty in your heart, is worth more than any passing praise. As you climb higher, the air grows clearer. You see more, understand more, and feel less of the noise below. The higher you go, the less you hear the chatter. You learn that your journey is your own, and your worth cannot be given or taken by others. To rise above judgment is not to ignore the world, but to choose your own compass, to be guided by inner strength. In this way, you find real freedom, the freedom to be yourself, to live with purpose, and to walk forward with peace, no matter what the world says. 18. Gratitude in the struggle. It seems almost impossible to feel thankful when the world is heavy and nothing goes your way. On those days when disappointment crowds your heart, when every effort feels wasted and loss seems to pile upon loss, gratitude can feel like a foreign word. The mind naturally looks to what is missing, what is broken, what could have been. There is a heaviness in the air that makes even the smallest task seem too much to bear. But it is in these very moments, in the midst of hardship and sorrow, that the most powerful gratitude is born not out of plenty, but out of struggle. The emperor who lost so much friends, battles, and moments of peace still began each day by counting his blessings. He did not ignore his pain or pretend that his losses did not matter. He simply chose every morning to remember what he still possessed: the loyalty of a few true friends, the warmth of the rising sun, the ability to act with dignity. This habit, simple yet profound, gave him the strength to meet each new challenge with an open heart. The teacher who faced chains and hunger learned to find reasons to be thankful, even in the smallest kindness, a smile from a stranger, a word of encouragement, a lesson learned from suffering. He understood that gratitude is not the denial of difficulty, but a decision to look for what remains, to search for the tiny sparks of hope that survive every storm. It is easy to be grateful when all is well. The real test is to practice gratitude in the dark, to seek the light that glimmers in the shadows. To force yourself to see the good, even in the middle of pain, is to shift the balance of your heart. It is not pretending that all is well, nor does it erase hardship. Instead, it is a choice, a gentle but powerful act of will to focus on what is possible, on what still stands. Each day offers a gift, a breath, a lesson, a small victory, a chance to try again. These gifts are not always easy to see. They are often quiet, hidden beneath the noise of disappointment and regret. But when you teach yourself to notice and name them, something changes inside you. The grateful heart is a resilient heart, able to find light in the darkest places, to find possibility in the face of defeat. Gratitude does not make the struggle vanish, but it gives you the strength to bear it, to carry on when others collapse. In time, gratitude has the power to transform pain itself into something meaningful. Every struggle endured with gratitude becomes a lesson. Every loss faced with thanks becomes a step forward, no matter how small. There will always be reasons to despair, always challenges that threaten to break your spirit. But if you choose, day by day, to look for what is left instead of what is gone, you will become stronger than the world's trials. You will find that the pieces of your life, broken and scattered though they may seem, slowly begin to fall into place. Not because the struggle has disappeared, but because you have learned to find value even in the struggle itself. Practice gratitude in the hardest seasons, when everything in you wants to give in to bitterness or self-pity. See each new dawn as a chance to begin again. Notice the beauty that remains, the kindness that endures, the hope that cannot be extinguished. In doing this, you will discover a quiet power inside a power to rise, to endure, and to find peace even when the world is heavy. Gratitude is the light that guides you home, and in its glow, you find strength enough for any storm. 19. The fire of commitment. Commitment is the flame that endures long after the first spark of inspiration fades. The world is full of those who begin with high hopes, hearts burning bright with excitement, dreaming of achievement and greatness. They make promises to themselves and to others, convinced that nothing will stop them. Yet as the days pass, inspiration begins to dim. The work becomes hard, setbacks appear, and the path grows longer than first imagined. Many grow tired. Some drift away, their early promises forgotten. But among the many, there are a few who do not turn back. They are not carried forward by fleeting motivation, but by something far stronger and more lasting, commitment. The emperor who rose each day to meet the burdens of empire did so not because he always felt eager or brave. He faced days of doubt, of grief, of exhaustion so deep it seemed impossible to go on. Yet he had made a vow to himself, to his people, to the greater good. That vow became the anchor of his life. No matter what storms rose up, he clung to it, letting his commitment light the way forward when inspiration was nowhere to be found. The teacher, beaten down by hard circumstance and endless struggle, committed to wisdom in every breath. He did not allow his spirit to be broken by disappointment or by the cruelty of fate. Each morning he renewed his decision, promising himself he would continue no matter how dark the day. Commitment, he learned, is not a feeling. It is a decision made and remade with each new dawn. To force yourself to keep your word, even when the world conspires against you, is to build a spirit unbreakable by disappointment or delay. Every day you show up, every promise you keep, every time you stand firm when quitting would be easier, you stoke the fire inside. Distractions tempt you, difficulties multiply. The promise of escape whispers sweetly, but when you hold fast to your commitment, you discover a power that cannot be shaken. You learn that it is not the easiest path, but the most meaningful one. Commitment makes your purpose real. It is the steady hand that shapes your life, the voice that tells you to keep going when all you want is to rest. In time, commitment turns small actions into monumental change. Each effort, each sacrifice, each act of discipline is like a brick laid upon a solid foundation. Slowly, almost without noticing, you build something lasting, a life, a legacy, a strength that endures when others fade away. Let your resolve be as steady as the sun, rising each day no matter what clouds try to hide its light. With every test, reaffirm your vow to the path you have chosen. Remind yourself why you began, and let that memory fuel you. The journey is never without setbacks, and the world will often seem to push against your purpose. But those who persist, who keep their word to themselves and to others, discover that the world belongs to them not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they refused to quit. In persistence, you find not only achievement, but transformation. The person who endures, who keeps going when others have turned back, is changed by the journey. Commitment shapes the soul, teaching patience, endurance, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from seeing something through to the end. It is this transformation, more than any prize or reward, that makes the struggle worth it. So hold fast to your commitments. Let them be the fire that carries you through dark nights and difficult days. For in the end, it is not the beginning that matters most, but the courage to finish what you started.